So in this video, let's take a look at the home screen. And specifically, we're going to look at the home screen with regards to setting up the first question. So there is stuff going on the home screen and on the on start. So this information here in the on start is concerned with the little group that I have on the left hand side, showing some of the quiz scores and quiz stats. But I'm not going to go into that right now. We'll look at that in a subsequent video. So I'm going to leave this little left hand panel alone for now. Instead, we'll look over here at the right hand side, setting up your quiz and preparing for question 1. So the first thing of note is the drop down. Very simple drop down. The items are just strings for the various quiz types, and the quiz size, again, just strings for the quiz sizes. And the real fun then happens in the start quiz button. Okay, and there's a ton of stuff going on the on select. Well, everything's relative. I'm sure other people have a lot more going on their on selects than this. Just a thing of note is that I did this app probably towards the end of 2018, and it's now September 2019. Microsoft released a white paper a few months ago, which was absolutely fantastic. But one of the things they suggested was not putting too much into your on selects on buttons. So I'm going to link that white paper in the description. It's really an excellent read. And if I was doing this app again, I would maybe take note of what Microsoft have to say and not put as much on the on select. But I'm not going to change the app at this stage. However, read the white paper. Really, really good stuff. Okay, so it starts off by getting information from the Africa SharePoint list that we looked at in the previous video. I'm creating a collection called temp quiz data. And based on the quiz type, I'm pulling back different information. So I'm using the show columns function to pull back, in the case of a capital quiz, I'm pulling back ID, title, and capital. So I always need ID and title being country name. And then because it's a capital quiz, I need the capital column. For population, I don't need capital, I bring back population. For area, I bring back area. Now, for the volume of data that I'm bringing back, I really don't need to do this. I could just bring back everything from my SharePoint list and it really wouldn't affect things at all. But just for the fun of it, I'm using the show columns function, and then I'm creating my temp quiz data collection. I then take my temp quiz data collection, and then I create my main master data collection called call quiz data. So my quiz data collection. And the only difference between these two collections is that I'm adding on, using the add columns function, a field called searchable ID. And it's just the ID column, which is a number, an integer, as a text field. And I'm doing that for a very specific reason, and we'll see why I'm doing that whenever we look at the debug screen in a subsequent video. So that is my master data of quiz data in a collection called quiz data. Then I start with the collections that I'm going to need to manage the quiz and manage the questions and answers going forward. Okay, and I start by creating, so using the clear collect function. I use clear collect to create an available questions collection, and it's going to be filled with the IDs from my master data of quiz data. So at this stage, there would be 54 IDs going into available questions. And available questions is essentially the questions that I can pull from to create my question. So at this stage, there's 54 possible answers there, but obviously as the quiz progresses, that the number in that available questions will go down. It'll go down by 1 each time you generate a question. And that's how I'm ensuring that I don't ask the same question twice. Available answers, similar idea at this stage. I am filling available answers with my IDs from my master data collection. So again, available answers will have 54 IDs in it at this stage. And available answers then is a question-specific collection. So each time I ask a new collection, that'll get refreshed to 54, but I won't be doing that with available questions. Available questions is a quiz-wide collection. So then what I need to do is I need to generate my first question. So what's the first question I'm going to ask? So I want a random value from my available questions collection to be the first question that I'm going to ask. And I do that by running this little routine here. So I count the rows in available questions. I multiply that by a random value. I round down to get rid of any decimals. I add 1. And then from that available questions collection, I get that random number. So it could be, with the 54 available questions, it could be, say, 17. I could generate a 17. I get the first 17 rows from available questions, and I take the last one. In other words, I get the 17th row then from available questions. And I put that into used questions again using clear collect. So in other words, I wipe used questions clean if there's anything in it, and I put in then this first value into used questions. And I'm going to go into this routine in a little bit more detail in the next video, and we'll look at it in more detail as to how that works. But it's essentially getting me a random value from available questions, and then I'm taking that random value and I'm putting it into used questions. And if you'll remember, these are essentially just SharePoint IDs at this stage. So that's how I'm generating these collections. They're just full of SharePoint IDs, and it's the management of those SharePoint IDs which I then use to look up in my question screen that's making the whole quiz work. So now that I've added that value to use questions, I need to remove that option from available questions. So I need to remove that ID from available questions. So my available questions will now have 53 rows in it. The original 54 minus the ID, the question that we've just added to use questions. I then need to start generating my possible answers. So again, another new collection called possible answers. And this possible answer collection is going to eventually have 4 rows in it. And the first row will be the correct answer. So the first row will be the first correct answer, and then I'm going to add 3 incorrect answers into it. So possible answers, its first value then is the used questions ID that we've just added. So the last used questions ID. Now at this stage, used questions only has 1 ID in it, so I don't really need to use the last function, but just for consistency, I'm using the last function. So the last ID in used questions gets put into possible answers, and that way I ensure that possible answers, the first value, is the correct answer. I then, from my available answers, I then remove that ID that I've just added to possible answers. Okay, so now my list of available answers has gone down to 53, and the one that's now missing from it is the correct answer. So I now know that I have 53 incorrect IDs or answers to choose from. So I now need to generate an incorrect answer. And I do that by running a very similar routine to what we saw previously, except that I'm pulling from available answers. So get me a random wrong answer from available answers, add it into possible answers, and this time instead of using a clear collect, I'm using a collect. And there we can see the 3 main functions of collections. Clear collect, which means wipe my collection clean and add something into it. The second one then is remove, which is take my collection and remove any values that match, in this case, last possible answers. And then the third option then, similar to clear collect, but very different in that you don't wipe the collection clear, you simply add to the collection as it is. So I want to add to the correct answer that I have, I want to add my first incorrect answer. And I do that here using my little routine to generate a random value, a random incorrect answer, and add it into possible answers. And then I remove that value from my available answers. Available answers is now down to 52. And I then generate a second incorrect answer, remove it from available answers, and then generate my third incorrect answer and my fourth and final value going into possible answers. And that's it. I have got my question in use questions, and I have my 4 answers in possible answers. But the important thing here is that the correct answer is the first option. I don't want that. So I need to use the shuffle command. Okay, and if you Google PowerApps shuffle, you will come to a query on PowerApps users forum, and it's really a conversation between Carlos Figuera, and I apologize if I'm butchering the pronunciation of that surname, between Carlos and Brian Dang, and that's where I learned about shuffle, and it's also where I learned about this little routine here, and I will link that forum post in the description. And it was brilliant for me. Without it, I don't think I would ever work this out. It was fantastic. So I'll link that in the description. So here then what I'm doing is I'm shuffling up my possible answers. I'm wiping out what's in possible answers using clear collect, and I'm putting that those shuffled 4 values back into possible answers. So basically just shuffling up my possible answers. So now the correct answer may no longer be the first, it may be the first option, but it also maybe now be the second, third, or fourth option. And then we're almost ready to go. We just need to set a few variables. We need to set the correct answer count to 0, set the question number to 1, set the quiz size equal to the appropriate integer based on the quiz size drop down, so 5, 10, 20, 54. And then set a quiz type variable equal to the value of the quiz type drop down. And that's it. After setting up those variables, we're almost ready to move on to the question screen. And then we just navigate onto the question screen. Okay, and then question 1 would be presented. But before we move on to the question screen, in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at this little routine in a bit more detail, and we'll take a look at the RAND test screen in my app.